Hi, my name is Sherry Pittman, and I'd like to welcome you to another segment of Survive and Thrive with Sherry. Today, we have with us a very special guest, Mr. Larry Ivory from Peoria, Illinois. Mr. Ivory, thank you for joining us.
My
We
pleasure.
appreciate
My
it. Thank
pleasure.
you. We normally talk about marriage on the show, but today we're going to take a slightly different twist, but we still see if we can sprinkle this a little bit with marriage just the same. But you have recently been appointed the national chairman for help me out here.
The National Black Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So congratulations to you.
Thank you, thank you.
What was that experience? What did it take to be appointed?
Well, I think it's just when you've been a person involved in the organization for as long as I've been involved in
Which
it.
is how long?
Actually, virtually at the inception. I think the National has been around for over 17 years.
Okay.
And I was involved probably starting in about 15 years.
Okay.
So I'm probably one of the longest standing board members. There probably one or two other board members have been there as long as I have been. And I think once you get there, you meet people, they become comfortable with you, and all of a sudden something happens. I don't think you have any control over it. It just happens.
Okay. Yeah. So how recent is this appointment?
February, actually.
February.
Yeah.
And how long is the appointment for?
It's about 2 years.
It's a 2-year assignment. And this is a silly question, but are you excited?
I'm a little nervous.
You're a little nervous. Why?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's it's a big role, and you really want to do the best. And at the time when the national president had asked me if I would be willing to serve as the chairman of the board, I was right in the midst of really trying to focus on making Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce strong and healthy and a model for the country. And, so you really want to put your time and energy. You know that when you take on another role, you want to perform and do well to make sure that you're adding value. So I think, if you're reasonable, you understand that it's more work. And that's what I was
most
nervous
definitely
about.
more
Yeah.
work, without a doubt. So will someone be taking your state level responsibilities over?
No, we have regional VPs in the area. Matter of fact, Tina Wilkins is our central regional VP.
I see.
And we have regional VPs downstate, and then we also have someone up north. So really, it's not going to change. I'm not going to step down as national. I stay in that same role and then still wear the hat as the president CEO of the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce.
And is that very typical for a chairman at the national level?
Yes, very typical.
It is very typical. So you have people that will carry on. They're in charge, and they
Yes.
will be able to walk in those responsibilities and make sure that the state level doesn't miss a heartbeat.
We try to do our best in that, honestly, but it's challenging sometimes.
Okay. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced?
Well, I think like anything is finding people who are willing to make the real commitment. A lot of people want to make a contribution, but it's like the chicken and the pig. One makes a contribution and the other one makes a real commitment.
For a bacon and egg breakfast?
Yeah, that's right. That's
Okay.
right. So I think finding good people. The scriptures talked about the laborers few, but the harvest is plentiful, the laborers are few.
Right.
You try to find good people. If you got good people who are passionate about the subject, then I think you can do anything.
Very good. Now, speaking of marriage, your wife, Janice.
Yes.
You guys have been married for, is it 13 years?
13 years.
And you have an anniversary coming up this fall. You have a couple of children in the mix.
Yes.
And it's my understanding that she is pretty much involved with the Black Chamber as well.
Very much.
Could you share a little bit about that, what her responsibility and roles are?
Well, Janice is a very integral part of the organization. As a matter of fact, any success that we have derived or I've derived wouldn't have happened without her. I mean, she's really the backbone of the organization. She doesn't get all the credit. I tend to get the credit for the success of the organization, but reality it's the people behind the scenes who make sure that she has an incredible gift of writing. She's very organized, she's very focused. I'm a little bit more laid back, and she's really like, hey, they're not getting the job done. We just sit down and talk about that. So she brings a lot of skill sets to the table that, is a weakness of mine. It's a strength for her, actually.
So you complement each other.
We do.
Did you meet her in connection with the chamber?
No, I didn't meet her in connection with the chamber. But okay. Once I met her, she got involved with the chamber right away, and she runs the Central Illinois Black Expo, which has been around for about 15 or 16 years now, actually.
Okay, okay. So how does one become a member?
Well, you can come a member a couple different ways.
Okay.
Number one, we have about 23 chapters throughout the state of Illinois. And a lot of times, if you're a small business, you're probably going to join the local chapter. If you're looking at doing business, say for example in Springfield,
Sure.
and that's your base, and you're trying to do business just in Springfield, you got a
Right.
store, a beauty shop, then you're going to join that local chamber, and whatever that local chamber fee is, then normally you're going to pay that, well, that's $100, $200, or $300.
I see.
Normally, in order to join the state chamber, you have to be a business that is doing business across the state.
I see.
And also wanting to expand your business internationally and throughout the United States.
So if you're a member locally, you're not automatically a member on the state and national, international level.
Well, you are, but you're not what we call a paid member. We try to make sure that local chambers, we try to support them in making sure that they focus on what we call the tier 3 businesses, which are the smaller businesses. But, you know, we have a lot of good corporate partners, you know, who may be like the Amrins, the ComEds, you know, bigger companies, and they become members of the state, but also they can become members of the local chapter also. So, you know, if you really want to be a member from the state side, we may have engineering firms as an example, like Infrastructure Engineering, who has an office in Peoria and is getting ready to open an office in Chicago, Cleveland, and a number of different places. And they would normally become a member of the Illinois State Black Chamber.
And what does the fees look like at the state level?
For most businesses, it's $5,000.
Okay.
For
okay.
African American businesses who are doing real business, they pay a membership of $5,000.
And obviously, if they're paying that, then they're certainly doing a volume in terms
Sure.
of the amount that they're bringing in. Now, I want to make sure that I'm clear here. There is a local, state, national. Is there an international organization?
Well, the national is the international organization. We're in 20 different countries.
Oh.
We have chambers in Paris, France, Africa, Brazil, all over the world. And so we'll bring people from Botswana, South Africa, Nigeria, all of them where we have chapters located. So we're a real international organization.
I see, I see. And I presume then that you do not have to be African American to be a member.
That's correct.
That's correct.
That's
okay.
correct.
Okay. How does one partner with the chamber? And since you're national and you're still state as well, why don't you speak to both?
Well, what we try to do when we meet a customer, say for example, just recently, you know, ComEd, Ameren, Nicor, the utility companies, we're pushing a bill called Bill 1652, deal with smart grid infrastructure. Well, we have an energy committee, and we're very interested in helping to shape the energy dialogue from an African American perspective. So we have to get involved in the energy dialogue. And when we get involved, you know, we try to find companies who are doing some things that we can agree with. If they agree with it from a policy side, we may sit down with, you know, Scott Sissel from Ameren, who's been a long-term partner of the organization, Ann Parmigieri, who's the president CEO of ComEd. We serve on the advisory board for ComEd. We sit down and talk about, okay, why is building infrastructure important to the state of Illinois, important to our members? And if we agree that those are important things, then we come out and say, okay, we can support the legislation. And we'll go down to Springfield and we will talk to our legislative friends, talk to leadership and say, we're with this because here's what it brings back to the community. And so we do a lot of that. Every corporate partner we have, whether it be AT&T, you know, we're always asking them, you know, we want to know what's important to you. And we don't always agree with them. There may be some times that they may be pushing something that we fundamentally can't agree with because it may be what we consider to be adverse to our constituents or to the black business community. And so we may not weigh in on that.
Sure.
But in a lot of cases, we will weigh in because we share the same vision.
Absolutely.
With smart grid, affordable, reliable, and efficient energy. So we have become great partners with all of the utility companies because we helped to push the legislation through, and we played a significant role in making sure it happened. And so they're corporate partners. They contribute significantly to our organization because they see the value that we bring to the table.
Now, I have a question for you when you talk about the utilities. I'm wondering whether or not fiber optic is part of this whole process with the utility companies?
It is. You know, you have AT&T as a member of the organization also. Verizon is a member of the organization. We're talking now about broadband spectrum, which is the thing that you need in order to have broadband. And it's a big conversation. And one of the big problems that companies have, and I tell them this all the time, I say, you know, you guys are pushing for things that are important, but you understand it, but no one else really understands it.
Right.
So the black community really can't get engaged in it because there's no education.
Right.
We come and educate the black community so they really understand what spectrum is, why we would have a vested interest in it, and then we partner with them, and it gives them a voice that they otherwise would not have.
What about the actual work that the people would perform and the training? What is that like? Is that something that you would be involved with
Very
the
much so.
community, pushing and
Yeah.
kind of bridging the gap, being the mediator?
Very much so. Matter of fact, all of our partners know that, you know, we tell them all the time, look, you're a partner of ours, but the reality of it is that, you know, when you want to move something that's important to us and we agree on, if by chance, you know, we're trying to move something and you're not doing business with people of color, you're going to weaken our hand. And matter of fact, we're not going to be able to support you. So in reality, a part of this whole objective is that we want to make sure that our members get access to those major corporations and they're doing business. So when we call the president of those companies, when we call them, they're in the meeting. You know, they're meeting with the top level CEOs of the company, and they're not like meeting with someone else. They have real legitimate access. And give you an example of that, the Tenaska bill, which is the Taylorville coal gasification plant, we were the organization that signed the MOU with Tenaska.
MOU, I'm sorry, Memorandum of Understanding.
Right. And we wrote black business in. And they also made a commitment to give $1 million a year for 30 years to African American College Fund, as well as make sure that black business is going to be represented throughout the whole process.
I see.
So it's a legal signed agreement. It passed the Senate. It's in the House now. It'll be up to Madigan whether that passes or not, to be quite frank.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We're going to get ready to take a break here for a second. I just want to thank you for joining us today on Survive and Thrive with Sherry and our guest, Mr. Larry Ivory. We appreciate him just taking some time out to tell us what's happening with the state and the national level of the Black Chamber, if you will. And we're going to be back in just a little bit, but we do want to remind you that you can catch the show every Wednesday morning on WRSP Channel 7 at 7:30 a.m. And we will be back in just a little bit. Thank you. Hi, my name is Sherry Pittman, and I'd like to just welcome and invite you to join us in watching Survive and Thrive with Sherry. We like to talk about marriages and a variety of other things as well. And we just want you to join us. If you have any comments or questions, you can find us on Facebook. We would love to hear your thoughts about shows. If you'd like to be a guest, we would love for you to contact us that way as well. Thank you. Hi, we're back with Larry Ivory. And Mr. Ivory, I have another question for you regarding the state and the National Black Chamber. The difference between the two levels, can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. Well, the national organization is really the parent organization.
Okay.
And we have all the other state chambers, people who are like me in New Jersey, Florida, Tennessee. They're state presidents.
Are all the states represented?
Not all states.
Okay.
But
2/3 of them?
2/3 approximately is represented.
Okay.
And they have the ultimate responsibility as a state leader to help strengthen the brand of the national by strengthening the local chapters.
Sure.
Okay, and we all benefit if the state chapters are strong, then it means the local chapters are strong. If the state is strong, then the national is strong. So it really, the whole objective is that we build our brand by strengthening our local chambers, strengthening our national chambers by strengthening our regional VPs.
Well, I know this may be seem a little obvious from some of the things that you said earlier, but when you say benefits, maybe we should talk a little bit about that in terms of people wanting to join or considering to join. What kind of benefits would they expect?
Oh, there's, you know, that's the reason we do what we do. It's, you know, when you're asking business owners to make an investment, and especially black business owners, they're not making an investment unless you can do something of value. And we do a lot of work on, we serve on a couple major boards for the state. We were appointed by President Cullerton to the Policy Procurement Board.
And President Cullerton is?
The President of the Senate.
Thank you.
Okay. And the Policy Procurement Board has never had an African American ever in the history to serve on it. And it's made up of 5 members. Each has appointment by Speaker Madigan, by the governor, and also by the President of the Senate, and both Republicans and Democrats. And it's a very powerful board that sets policy across the board. And for the first time in the history, we serve on that board to set policy. So we can call any agency to the table, no matter who you are, no matter if you're the president of the college, if you're the head of the sheriff's department, it doesn't matter. If we call you, got to come see us.
So is it safe to say then that what I hear you saying is that one of the benefits is representation at that level? That's right.
Okay. And then we also was appointed by the governor to serve on the CMS board, the BEP council, that sets the goals for the state for minority participation across the whole state of Illinois. All of the agencies under the governor's preview are set goals in terms of minority participation. So we act as an advocate and as a voice for black business, because when a business is working, doing what they're doing, they don't have time to go down to Springfield, take a look at all the legislation. Sure. They need an advocate that can advocate on their behalf. And then we will take a look at certain things where contracts are coming out and say, you know, there's no minority participation. Or we may impose a question that says, you know, you just had a $9 million contract with IDOT, and no black engineering firms are on that list. And I'm concerned about that. I want to talk to the Secretary of Transportation, Ann Snyder, who's done a fantastic job, in my opinion, as the new Secretary of Transportation, the first female to ever get the position, but she's been a real champion and very open. So we do a lot of that, and we also make sure that we're talking to corporations about our people doing business with them. So that's the reason that that's what we do. That's the benefits of belonging to the chamber. On May the 22nd, we'll bring about 400 business owners down to Springfield, and we'll meet with the leaders of the House, the Senate, Republicans and Democrats, and we'll have a list of things and bills that we think are important, and we'll bring 400 people down to Springfield.
So it's safe to say that one of the benefits is a strong government influence.
That's correct.
Okay, and I also heard corporations, 400 corporations. That's pretty impressive as far as I'm concerned.
Did you say 400 corporations?
I thought I heard you say that.
No, I'm sorry.
400 businesses.
400 businesses.
Thank you. I appreciate that correction.
Okay.
So with 400 businesses, that's just in this state, and
well, our membership for our members is probably closer to 12,000, but we'll bring a 400 people down. No, statewide.
Statewide,
and
but about 400 of those.
Yeah, we'll come down to Springfield.
I see. And when we talk nationally, what kind of membership we're talking about?
The national memberships is in the hundreds of thousands.
And we didn't really talk about any kind of fee structure there. I mean, if we're talking 5,000 at the state level, then I would think national we are tripling.
Yeah,
easily.
Easily, $25,000. You know.
And the benefits again?
Same thing, identical thing. A quick example: Smoot Construction is doing the museum in Washington D.C.
Okay.
Well, they are members of the national organization, and so they're looking for African Americans, and that museum, I think, is 500. It's a significant amount. I can't remember the exact numbers.
500 million.
500 million. Okay. In D.C. But it's a pretty significant project, and so our members get a chance because our member is the general contractor for that project.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wonderful. Yeah. We have members that have the wherewithal to head up such a project of that magnitude.
Oh yes, sure. Yeah,
okay.
You got Russell Construction Company.
I use we loosely, right?
Yeah, well, this week, it's we can say we.
I got to watch my pocketbook when I talk. Oh, can the national level as well as the state provide statistics regarding particular industries?
Oh yeah, we do a lot of that. You know, we took a look at one of the areas that we focus in on, Sherry, was transportation. Because what we try to point out to people is that, you know, there was a lot of money in the economic stimulus package that President Obama put in place. But the problem we found is that even though that money was going out, it was meant to get to the people who were suffering, struggling. And a quick way to get the economy on its feet is to do it by construction, you know, quick jobs and opportunity. But what we found out is that a lot of the African American contractors were not participating across the United States. The numbers were dismal. So, you know, we take a look and we say, okay, how is highway infrastructure funded? And most people don't know highway infrastructure is funded by motor fuel tax, which means that every time we go to the gas pump, we're paying for highway infrastructure. That's how highway infrastructure is funded throughout the United States. So everyone's contributing to it.
Why was there not participation?
Well, I think it's been a where there's been no real voice, to be quite frank. And, you know, white firms who have all the capacity, they pick and choose who they want. And sometimes we don't have firms who are connected, have the relationships, because the prime contractor wins the work, and then he selects his subcontractors under the DBE program, which is a disadvantaged business enterprise program. So what we saw was bad statistics that we thought really adversely impacted the community. We were making great contributions, but our return on investment was insignificant. And so we had to make sure that we had a voice in that conversation, one, to educate the community to understand that's your money,
right,
that you've been contributing to, and
right,
you have a right to participate where your dollars have created the opportunity. So once you bring that level of awareness, then you start meeting with leadership and taking a look at, you know, engineering firms, architectural firm, and construction companies, and you take a look at the numbers, and you see the numbers are showing African Americans are getting less than 2%, less than 3% of the contracts. And the engineering, the same thing is the case. So we have to be a voice to speak to that issue and say, look, you know, no matter whether it's intentional or unintentional, we got to fix that.
Now let me ask a different question. Is the transportation industry, it obviously is a benefit, but what other industries benefit?
Well, what are the industry benefit from?
From being a member of the state and the local.
Right now we're getting ready to host a meeting. We just did discovery on IT companies, and the state spends over $1 billion in IT. And I'm chairing the IT committee to take a look at the lack of participation, because we showed that Black and brown people get less than 1% combined of all the IT contracts, and we're talking about billions and billions of dollars.
You're wearing a lot of hats, but go ahead.
Yeah. So we're fighting that. We're going to have a hearing that we're going to bring the subject to light, and we will be pushing the issue to make sure that Black and brown people get a better share of those opportunities on IT contracts all across the state.
So we have communications, we have the transportation industry represented.
Virtually every industry that you're talking about, whether it be construction, whether it be sales and selling products, toilet paper, toothbrushes. You know, we had an issue recently with major contracts with the correctional system. Now, you and I know we represent close to 60% of the prison population, and you had the,
if not more.
Yeah, and you had an issue where we just recently had calling card contract for prison inmate calling. Those are multi-million-dollar contracts. Well, no people of color ever get those contracts, but we got companies that can do it. But why? How come, if we're representing the largest population, why aren't we getting any parts of those contracts? So it's my job, you know, as I told when the governor appointed me, he knew I was an advocate. If he didn't want me to be an advocate on behalf of African Americans, even though I'm an advocate for everyone.
Sure.
But I'm surely an advocate for people who've been left out of the process.
Right.
And the governor has been clear in his comment that I believe him. He says everyone in and no one left out.
Everyone in, no one left out.
Yeah.
Dues, are they tax deductible?
No, we're a 501c6. Does not attack. It's a business deduction.
Oh, okay. And if someone was interested in getting reports, where would they access those at?
It depends on what type of reports you're looking for.
Okay.
If you want to see what the state is spending in different areas, you would call us. If you want to take a look at transportation, if you want to take a look at private sector like corporations, the ADMs and companies like that, then that's a little bit more difficult to get, but we would normally have access to some of that information.
I see,
If we don't, someone else would.
And what kind of contact information? You want to give that information as to how to reach?
Sure. You can reach the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce. You can call us at 309-740-4430. And you can also go to our website at the Illinois ILB, as in boy, cc.org. And you'll be able to go directly to our website, and you can email us and talk to us, and we'll respond.
I see, I see. We have about 30 seconds or a little bit more left. Is there anything in particular you'd just like to add or inform us of?
Well, I think that, we talk, one of the big things I think we talk about, how do we make Illinois the best state? And when the state is competing against other states, what makes a state and a community more attractive is low crime, jobs, better education, and a wonderful healthcare delivery system. The area where we have the highest crime and the lack of jobs is in the black community. And you can't have sustainable black communities without sustainable black business. We must have a business agenda, not a social service agenda, that's built on creating opportunities for black business to participate.
Even though we need social services.
Because if you have businesses who are thriving, strong, and making a lot of money, we can take care of ourselves.
You need less social
That's right.
services.
That's correct.
So that's a big plus.
So that's really our piece, is that we believe in the American dream, the opportunity to make America better, but it's better when we all participate.
Wow. Well, I think you just took it to the national level. I was going to ask that question, but it sounds like it's a little bit both of the same.
Yeah.
As we were talking about earlier, one feeds the other one. I want to thank you so much.
Well, my pleasure.
You've been a wonderful
Yes.
guest. I appreciate it. Hope you come back again sometime.
Indeed.
Thank you. Bring your wife next time.
And we'll do. Okay.
And I want to thank you for joining us as well on another show of Survive and Thrive with Sherry. Our guest, Larry Ivory. We've enjoyed having him, and we hope you come back again as well. Bye-bye. Hi, my name is Sherry Pittman, and I'd like to just welcome and invite you to join us in watching Survive and Thrive with Sherry. We like to talk about marriages and a variety of other things as well. And we just want you to join us. If you have any comments or questions, you can find us on Facebook. We would love to hear your thoughts about shows. If you'd like to be a guest, we would love for you to contact us that way as well. Thank you.